Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Marlou and this is Main Books, and today I'm going to do my February wrap up. If I look a bit rough, I had a wisdom teeth removal a few days ago, so I'm still not really looking my cute old self, but it doesn't really matter. I feel remotely fine, so I can just film this video now. In February I read 7 books. I think 7 is a good amount for a short month like February. So let's start with the first book. I finally read The Invisible Life of Ellie LaRue by V.A. Schwab. Schwab. I listened to it because it was on Nextory, and you know, sometimes with popular books you just want to know what the hype is about. I'm sorry for my cat. Try to edit him out. This is a little bit of a fantasy book. It's about a woman who makes a deal with the devil that she doesn't have to age, so she can be free. But this also means that everyone who meets her forgets her right away. And this whole book, she's just living that awful life, and it takes place over like multiple centuries. It's like that's like my first problem with the book. Like, she lives through all these ages that, you know, come into war and revolution and stuff like that, but the book is not about that. No, it's just about her going to sleep with people. So in the end, it's kind of like, it has some romance to it, it has some like things you can think about, but it's really not that, in my opinion, good or beautifully written. It's just a book that is so long. This book has 484 pages, which I think is just a waste of time. I gave it 3 stars because it's not the worst book ever, but it was not worth my while. And then I read All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata. I listened to the audiobook as well. I love Look Off With Love. And I read that as a physical book, and it's like slow burn, ice skating. I love that book. So I just wanted to read more from her, and this book is about this woman who rents out this garage to live there after her mom died, and then the guy that owns the garage is like grumpy, so it's like grumpy sunshine, age difference, single father trope, and it's a fine book. Like, she knows how to write slow-paced romance. This one was a little too slow for my opinion. Like, I think yeah, I don't know, it was just, it took it all a bit too slow. Like, that book isn't smutty, but it's also like, these are 2 adults like deprived of sex. Like, why do you wait that long? But okay. I gave it 3.2 stars. It was enjoyable, but it was literally 572 pages long, and it's just a romance, and it's not that special or cool. Like, it's fun, but come on, almost 600 pages. It loses me a bit, you know? Then I listened to Big Swiss by Jen Began. I also gave that 3.2 stars. I listened to this in an audiobook. This is about a woman who becomes a transcriber for therapy sessions, like sex therapy sessions. And one of the clients is this Swiss woman who just says things that interest our main character. And then she kind of becomes like obsessed with her. And I love books like that. I love books about, oh my god, I love reading about obsession, but I think the story was not that good. Like, I enjoyed it, I had a good time, but it was not like something really spoke to me all that much. But if you have any recommendations on cute obsessed books, it doesn't have to be cute, it can also be disturbing. I just like those type of characters. I don't know what that says about me, but yeah. Then I read Know My Name by Chanel Miller. This is a memoir about a woman who's been sexually assaulted, and it's about a trial and her experience. I've had this book on my want to read list for a very long time. I've heard really good things about it, and let's say the first half of the book I was really intrigued. I was really into it. It was very interesting to see how a real case goes, because it's like, it really happened, so it's quite different than a book that's fiction. But at some point I just wanted it to be over with, because it's just, I can totally like assume that going through this for years is like so tiring, so ugh. But I hated that reading this book also felt like that. You know what I mean? I didn't give it a rating because this is a memoir about someone being a victim. Like I don't want to harshly criticize this book. I just thought that it was not an enjoyable experience to read it, and therefore I don't recommend it. Is that mean? I don't know. I just thought that this book, it was very like interesting and super brave that she writes this and that she wants to help people, and that's great. But it's also super repetitive, and you just want to go to the part where she moves on, has a great life, and that doesn't happen, right? Like it's all about the trial, and it's just it's super sad that this is her life, definitely. But I didn't enjoy reading about it. Then I listened to The Woman in the Library. I listened to this as an audiobook. I heard that this was a book that you either love or hate, so of course that intrigues me. What I love about this book is that it's kind of meta. So it starts out with the main character, and she is sitting in the library. She's an author, and then there are three other people also in the library, and then they hear someone scream, and they're like talking to each other, like what was that? And then they hear that a person has been murdered. So they're all like keeping in contact because they're like, whoa, did we just murder? No, did we just witness a murder? So they become friends. And at the same time, you get these emails from this guy who is sort of like, is he the editor of the book? I'm not sure. Something like that. He reads the book that the main character writes, but she writes what the book is. Does that make sense? So you don't know if she lives her life and changed it and sends it to him, or if the life she wrote is already the version that she wrote. Does this make sense? Explaining meta is super not my thing, but I enjoy meta. I enjoy that because I'm like, ooh, you never know what is real, what is fake, what is who. I was kind of disappointed by the ending because it's so meta, I just want it to be genius. And was it genius? I don't know. It kind of just ended, and I was like, I still don't understand what was real, what was not. And I think that's kind of the point of a book like this, maybe, perhaps. But I wanted it to be genius. I wanted it to be mind blown. I wasn't mind blown, but I was having a decent time while reading it. So I think I'll rate it a 3.5 because I did enjoy it, but I cannot say it was great, if that makes sense. Then I read In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. This is one of those books that's on the list with dark academia books, and since I loved If We Were Villains, I was like, I'm just gonna dip my toes back into that genre, even though I already kind of knew that I was not gonna love this book because the reviews I heard about this book were meh. Like, for example, In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, there's no knife in this book. There's no knife mentioned in this book. Like, why would you do, like, I like the title, it's kind of poetic. In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, wow, intrigued, but there is no knife. Let the murder weapon be a knife if you're gonna call it that. Anyways, this book is about a group of college students who become friends because they're going on a parade, and then one of the people in the groups end up dead. And then we have a dual timeline where our main character goes to like a sort of reunion, and at that reunion someone is gonna be like, wow, some of you guys murdered her. Who is it? So that is what you have. This was not the best book to read as an audiobook because there are a lot of names and that is confusing, and I also sometimes didn't really like catch on that the POVs changed. So at some point I was like, whoa, this person really acts like the main character really acts like the other person. I was like, maybe it's because it's her POV, but it just confused me because in the past timeline we are switching POVs, but in the current timeline we aren't. And I also think it's already confusing if you have two timelines and you also have more POVs in the past and not in the future. And I just felt the whole book is leading up to something, and then it was like, are you trying to make me like shocked that this is like, I think it was meant to be a plot twist book, but it didn't feel like a plot twist book because it was already laid out to be a certain way. Does that make sense? I don't know what the rate is. I think 3 stars. I cannot give it more. I was not like on my toes. I was not that entertained. I I didn't really get the Dark Academia vibes. There were no descriptions of anything. I have no idea what people look like. I have no idea what their dorms look like. I have no idea what their scenery was. I just know that the main character was not a fun person to read about. I don't care if a person is unlikable, but if a person is just downright not like... I didn't wish any well on her. And that's kind of what you need for the main character. You want her to not be the killer. You also want her to be happy or whatever. But I just like, I hope you're the murderer so you can go away. So that was my review of that book. And then the last book I read was Lullabies for Little Criminals by Heather O'Neill. I had this on my physical TBR for a while. I didn't really want to start reading it because I have decided that I don't like books that make me sad. Hey. So this book is about Baby, and she's 12 years old at the start of this book, and she lives with her dad, who is a heroin addict, and she just has a really bad childhood basically, and eventually she becomes a prostitute. I don't like reading about that. I don't really, you know, but when I bought it I thought I liked it, but I didn't get into it, and now I read it. Okay, the first half of this book I cracked up a few times. This has some funny writing in it. Like, for example, at some point she goes to a foster home, and there's this other boy there, and he's walking around the house in a blanket. He's in recovery, like as a joke, because these children, they go through such dark things that they know what a recovering drug addict looks like, and it's just so, the writing is so genius and funny. Like, it's super sad obviously that a kid knows what withdrawal looks like, but he's just walking around saying, I'm going through withdrawal. Like, it's so funny. Like, he is not actually doing that. He's just acting. But it's just, there are things in this book that I just cracked up at, and I love that. But then, as she got a little bit older, I was like, no, I want to stop reading this, because it was no longer funny. It was just really sad. Like, she, you know, steal things, and she becomes a prostitute. Like, I don't want that for her. Like, it's really sad. It's not like, oh, she's gonna do that because she wants to. It just kind of happens to her. It's all like written from the first person POV. So her being a prostitute is just really described as she doesn't even know what's going on. I mean, maybe she does, but the way you read it, it's like she has like no clue what's actually happening to her. It's like a really I just hate knowing that this is actually a thing that happens in the real world, and I hate it. So kudos to her for the writing funny things in a sad book like this. Really enjoyed that. Did I enjoy the overall book? No, I was glad it was over. It just it irks me, and that's nothing against the book. It's just from my experience. I want to protect kids. That's it. I cannot read about kids in awful situations. It makes me so what do I rate this? I have no idea, because it's different. I think it's maybe kind of good, but it's just not enjoyable. So I think 3.2 because it was funny at the beginning. So yeah, those were all the books I read this month. I would say this was not my best reading month. Like, the highest rating was a 3.5. It was all kind of like mediocre, and that's normal for me. For my reading experience from books to mediocre, it's kind of normal. I am critical, not easily pleased with the things I read. But yeah, please let me know if you've read any fun books this month, and thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I would love to see you next time. Bye!